A new era of Dom of X starts here. From the majestic island of Themyscira to the nth metal deposits of Thanagar, I am Dom of X, and this morning we are going to look at DC Finest Batman Year 1 and Year 2, the next installment of DC's comprehensive collected edition line, reprinting selected stories from 1938 to 2011. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Up, up, and away. All right, DC Finest Batman Year 1 and Year 2 released this week on the 5th of November. I apologize for not getting the video out to you guys. I had a bit of a run-in problem with Adobe After Effects deleting all the assets that I had made for this specific series, so I had to redo them literally at the time of this recording, the day of this recording. But anyways, what's done is done. We do have DC Finest Batman again, and you can buy this title for $39.99 at your local comic shop or whatever direct market or regular book market retailer you decide to purchase this book at. The selected edition also clocks in at 632 pages. So let's go ahead and look at the book's build. All right, this is the front of the book. Again, Year 1 and Year 2. Here is a look at the spine. For those wondering, it does have the DC Finest regular logo at the top. Batman Year 1 and Year 2. You got the DC logo right there. 1930 or 1986 to 1987, along with the side art. Let me go ahead and get the Superman trade for a comparison between the two books. And again, just what these books are going to look like on your shelf, considering that we're not going to get all Batman, we're not going to get all Superman at the start of the front lines. Again, difference between both books is the main one being the logo being a little bit smaller for Superman, and that is probably going to be a problem for a lot of these books going forward in case of design, because circular logos tend to be smaller when it comes to these specific trade paperbacks, especially being published and furnished. And here's a nice side view again. You can see that the DC logo a little bit smaller for Superman than it is for Batman, which might be a problem for some folks. I don't know if I'm going to have a problem personally with it. Maybe my OCD will disagree, but that is what you're going to deal with as far as this title or this specific book and these specific books are going to be concerned. Now, let me go ahead and show again. Here's the front of the book, side, and here's a look at the back. All right, so we got a couple of interesting notes to put in the alleyway for this. In fact, let me go ahead and zoom in on the front or the back of the book. So there it is, presenting DC Finest Stories. Each DC Finest volume features key moments in the adventures of the greatest characters in comics, written and drawn by classic creators. These are the stories that transform the DC universe forever. DC Finest. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the book. There it is, presenting DC Finest Stories. If you zoom in a little bit, it says that each DC Finest volume features key moments in the adventures of the greatest characters in comics, written and drawn by classic creators. These are the stories that transform the DC universe forever. DC Batman Year 1, Year 2 features these incredible issues and more. And there you have some of the covers that are overlaid on the back. Very similar to somehow of the Marvel Classic Omnibuses do, where they have all of the covers on the back. In fact, even some of the more modern books, like Ed Brubaker's Daredevil, have the same overlay on the back. They just don't have the synopsis. They usually just have the credits and the collected edition, reprinted issue numbers and information on there. If you look at this specifically, they have an overlay of all the years that DC Comics existed, or that DC titles, of course DC Comics not existing until way later, but National Comics, Charlton Comics, Quality Comics, etc. So for anywhere from 1938, the first appearance of Superman in Action #1, to 2011, right before they rebooted the universe again for Flashpoint. So that makes me very interested to see how they're going to do New 52. But they are reprinting New 52 in a lot of different formats that's not DC Finest, but it would be cool to have a modern DC Finest collection. Of course, having highlighted here is 1986 and 1987. This is when these issues were coming out, and the synopsis for the back: The Dark Knight begins. We all know the story. After attending a late-night movie screening at one fateful night in Gotham City, young Bruce Wayne's parents are gunned down in a senseless act of violence. And of course, this tragedy inspired him to travel the world, honing his body and mind and will to become the world's greatest comic fighter. In this is collecting Batman 401 to 412, Batman Annual number 11, and Detective Comics 568 to 579. Let's go ahead and take a look now inside at the book and talk about 3 select stories that I found really interesting in this issue, or these collected editions in thereof. Forgive me, guys. I am trying to figure out my specific voice as a creator. Okay, cut all that out. Here is a look at the front. Of course, Alan Davis is no stranger to amazing comic book art, and I love that he's the first one displayed on here. I think you're going to have a lot of people questioning, why wasn't this a Mazzucchelli cover? I will say that I appreciate the balance between creators in this book in and of thereof. They could have easily used a Dennis Cowan one. They could have easily used a John Byrne one. They could have easily used a Michael Wynn one, but they decided to go, of course, with Alan Davis, the grandmaster behind Excalibur and so many other amazing titles. We have to thank him a lot for that. On the left-hand side, you have all the copyrighted material information, including the original editor of the book, who was none other than Dennis O'Neil. We owe that man, I think, the biggest gratitude for any single Batman comic that's ever been written. We wouldn't have Batman today if it wasn't for him. He oversaw every single bit of transformation, from him going from the hokey-cokey Adam West, Burt Ward Batman to what we have today. The Dark Knight, who is dark, brooding, and everything in and of thereof. Reza Lockman, I have to give a big credit to him for overseeing all of these titles. Not only that, I was able to talk to Mark Waid on Near Mint Condition. Was very thankful for his time there, experiencing well, pretty much everything behind the scenes that you could think of, and he is one of the big guys behind the scenes. I'm talking about Lockman specifically. I'd love to get him to interview him on the channel for you. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, guys. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Steve Cook, no shade or anything else to him. We are very blessed to have a lot of his designs on books. I really loved his Doomsday Clock absolute designs, and if you want to talk about anyone who knows graphic design better than comics, it's really hard to find that other than Steve. And of course, here's a look at the table of contents, everything here and of their out. So I should probably, man, I really wish that Adobe After Effects didn't affect some of the things that I was going to plan on doing, but here is a look at it anyways. Batman 401, Detective 568, Batman 402, Detective 569 and 570, Batman 403, and of course, Detective 571, and Year 1 all in throughout. So Year 1 isn't the start of this book. Usually I get the chance to say that I usually expect books like that to be the start and be the forefront, but they want you to experience this as if you were a comic book reader in the late 80s, the mid-late 80s, and you are picking these up from a pharmaceutical or what have you, whatever retailer that you were getting it. And they have it in the order that I never would have anticipated, but I really appreciate that I have everything else beforehand, and then you get hit with the Frank Miller, Dave Mazzucchelli goodness. Detective 572 and 573. And then you have Detective 574, Batman 408, 409, 410, 411, and Annual number 11. And then 560, 575, and then, of course, which is none other than Year 2, Batman 412, and Detective 579. Now, 579 was the only one of these stories that I hadn't gotten a chance to reread because it's not on DC Universe Infinite. So if you are a person who is planning on reading everything and is looking to get a digital solution, unfortunately, these aren't available yet on Amazon Prime or Comixology, or the amalgamation between those two. Detective isn't also available to read on physical, or I should say digital, sorry. Detective 579 isn't available digitally, but it is available here. So if that is a deal breaker for you, that is something that you should be looking into. Now, select story overviews. I got to talk about a couple of books, obviously, because this is what we are here to do. The first thing that I want to notice, and this was probably the most fun one, is this issue of Detective Comics 570 by none other than Mike W. Barr and Alan Davis. Detective Comics 570 is pretty much a Joker Catwoman story, trying to figure out how Batman is going to fight crime with a post-crisis look. There wasn't much of a, if you would like to call it, a tonal shift in this book at all. It pretty much stayed the same from issues 400 and before, right when Dennis O'Neil got on. So there wasn't that much of a difference between any of those issues, and Crisis wasn't a breaking point like it was for Superman and for Wonder Woman. For Batman, if you were reading Batman before this, the chances of you being completely lost in the puzzle fold, pretty much next to none. You got a nice continuation of all of the stories that you are experiencing, and if you like that dark brooding detective, you pretty much had a good shot of enjoying this material as well. But what I like specifically about this issue, you got a couple of people who are held hostage, and not in a good way. But you get the crime-fighting duo of Jason Todd and Bruce Wayne. Jason Todd still figuring out sort of how to adjust himself to the brand new crime-fighting lifestyle. We also get Catwoman and Joker teaming up, I should say. Sorry for the minor spoilers, but you get to see what Selina and the Joker are doing in a post-crisis world. And I frame the post-crisis world in and of thereof because I think it's important to denominate that everybody is on one Earth now. It's not two, it's not three Earths. It's one specific Earth that we are all running through, and that is specifically highlighted in these issues. And that's actually the one thing I love about this book overall, is you really get a chance to see how, even though the tonal shifts aren't there, you still get to see how these books are functioning in a post-NC Monitor universe. And I'm telling you guys, this is probably one of the biggest standalone issues in this book for me. I have to give it up to the duo of Davis and Barr for creating this specific issue. I had a lot of fun with it when I was reading it on the plane to Florida, and man, was it such a blast to be able to get through it. But that's something that I think you guys should be in it for too. I don't also feel like... See, I didn't get a chance to talk about Year One on Nearman Conditions, so I'll get a chance to talk about Year One here. Year One is, yes, it is just as good as everybody says it is, and I don't think I really don't have anything to rehash that other people haven't had before. I can only imagine the look on people's faces when they got to experience this for the first time, getting to see a Batman that doesn't trust the police, a Batman that could only confide confidence in somebody who is not only a better cop than the rest of the system has to offer, but also someone who's broken in of himself. And on top of that, you get to see, really, again, the beauty and appreciation of Frank Miller at his legitimate peak. If you want to talk about core writing that I think stands alone to the test of time, Batman Year One is the definition of it. Yes, it's not to say that obviously there haven't been stories like it, but the greatest thing just about this comic book in and of itself is the the collaboration between both Mazzucchelli and Miller. I don't think... Every single time I read this book, and I read it again, I had to read it again 3 times this week, and I won't say the reasons why. But every single time I pick up this book, it's like I pick up on something that I haven't noticed before. On top of that, the decision for the lettering with Gordon and with Bruce, the use of cursive in the book, I can't thank the people enough in this specific book. Like Todd Klein, I have seen that man's name everywhere, and I don't think he gets as much recognition because of Mazzucchelli and Miller. But if in this case, he has to. This is just such a wonderful collaboration on all fronts. It really does, I think, and should get the respect that it deserves. Frank Miller not only changed the Batman forever with this book, he also created a tale that will be as timeless as it can be. This is the perfect comic book. I don't know if I really have any gripes with it. Every single scene is jaw-dropping. It's like I'm picking it up for the first time or next time, and it's always something that I look forward and back to. I never will ever stop appreciating this for what it is. And again, every single time I read through it, it's like, holy moly, there goes Batman again. So again, I don't have really much of anything to add on top of what I said, but it's year 1. Pick up and read it, if only for this. And it feels like a discredit to everybody else, but year 1 really is that good. So yes, pick it up for year 1, guys. If anything else, if you don't like the Collins or Barr stuff, just getting to experience it in the original colors. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the last of these books that I am going to do a select stories over of, and it is none other than Dick Grayson saying no to the Batman mantle forever and moving on with his life. Now, this get a bit confusing. I know that for some people, they want to have a clear sense of continuity in mind, and of course, year 1, it's pretty easy to say that, like, oh, that's your definitive Batman origin story. But I don't feel like with Dick Grayson anyways, because we had him as Nightwing before, and now all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, he's Robin? Well, maybe when I get to Teen Titans, I'll be able to talk a little bit more on it, but I will just say that this issue 408, and my first exposure to none other than Max Allan Collins, who takes the breath away from my lungs on how wonderful his entire writing is. He doesn't get enough credit for Batman. Honestly, he doesn't even get enough credit, I think, for this specific issue alone. Decision making, the ability to change one's life, and the consequences for your actions are all present in this issue. And it's something that's so gratifying. It's so nice to read. Now, of course, maybe I'll make that an emoji someday, but even in the case of thereof, you not only get to see the retcon with Jason Todd, but you also get an opportunity to see pretty much everything, I think, in not only this Max Allan Collins issue, but every single issue going forward for everything post 408. And again, nice having these issues back to back and front to front. I'm now going to be a lot more interested to see how they continue the mapping in the second volume post-Crisis with The Killing Joke and other stories, and hopefully I'll be able to share more of my thoughts. But those are the broad spoilers that I think I'll be talking about. Again, I'm going to try and test out this new format to see if you guys like it. I know that it might not be for everybody, but this is the way that I think I'm going to be doing the DC Finest overviews. And if you guys have any suggestions or adjustments that I should be doing for these videos, please let me know. And my final verdict on this specific title is it is an absolute must-buy. It's an absolute must-read. You need to get this. If you are a Batman fan and this is on the stands and it's there, it's $40, pick it up. I don't know what you guys are doing. Really, from the bottom of my heart, I think the decision to put all of these titles together in a format where it not only makes sense with the stories and where they're going, but also getting an opportunity to be reading it like the people who read it in the past. It gives you a nice lens of how everything was like back in those days. Again, hats off to Collins, hats off to Miller, hats off to Barr, and artists and illustrators like Cockrum and Cowan and Mazzucchelli and Davis. No shortage of artistic talents left behind here. Yeah, big shout out to Todd Klein, because I don't know where I'd be without his letters. But that's going to be it. I am, of course, Domovex. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, please check out comicreleases.com if you haven't. And that will be it from me. Let me know in the comments down below if you are planning to either pick this up. Which DC Finest are you the most interested in? And that's going to be it for me. I'm Domovex. You be you. Take care and dominate the day wherever you go.